So I'm glad to have you back, and I'm sitting here by the river, and which is really peaceful, really quiet, really beautiful day. Not too hot today here in Tampa, and really what I want to talk about today is why would you want to write your letter to your kingdom spouse, and just giving you some different ideas you could do or things you can think of, because as we all know, we're eager to reunite with the person that God has for us, and excited for that. And um, and over time, it is that a lot of times you forget how you felt at a certain time. You remember what it was like when you were in high school and you crushed on somebody, or you would pass notes and things like that, and and then over time that you kind of forget that. So I wanted to give you a couple different ideas for things you can write as far as letters, and and sometimes these things can take a long time. It could take years might take months, or it might take years for people to reunite with after they've been separated from their kingdom spouse for whatever reason, whether it's from God or just something they did personally. And I've even heard stories of people reuniting after 30 years. I saw someone on YouTube the other day that they were apart for 30 years, and this was their spouse. God told them that this was, and they reunited with their spouse 30 years later. So anyways, let's get into it. So here's a couple different ideas that you can do to start off with, just as far as, if you want a theme. Everybody wants a theme. So I thought the first one, probably to me, the most important one, or what I felt be the most important, would be to detail your journey, to really tell your spouse about what it was like being separated, what it was like, and I'll get into a couple different ideas we can share about what would be maybe some good things you can share from that. And the second thing I was thinking about was that tell them things that you can write about, things that they didn't know, that you think the other person didn't know, that they'd be really shocked or surprised to find out in their meeting, or things about your life, or things that maybe you wanted them to know. And the third thing I thought of is that you can do something as far as some people are real poetic and like to rap and rhyme and stuff like that. So I thought you could do is that you can rhyme, you can do poetry, and then you can, if you're really good at it, that's your gift. You can make it romantic however you want to. The fourth thing I thought about was if you want to do a prophecy, if you want to speak over what you want your marriage to be, what your union to be. And the fifth thing I thought about was if you want to talk about plans and purpose for your life, that things you want to do as far as ministry, just a vision for your life together, your union, and what you want to happen. And so right now I'll get into it. I'll share about just different thoughts I was thinking of as things you could add to your that letter that you're writing. And so I thought that you want to share first of all, you want to share your feelings for them. You want to share your true feelings, because sometimes even in person you can be kind of like nervous, especially when you see the person you haven't seen them in a long time, and you're thinking about, man, what's it going to be like when I see them? All the the funny things, and so you can even write about that. What do you think it's going to be like when you see them again? And then you can share about maybe the struggles, all the things you've kind of went through in this journey. Your struggles, your laughter, your tears, at times the silly things that you did. Maybe you were embarrassed, the things that you did, mistakes you made, or things you felt like, I was really embarrassed when I did this. And times you just laughed at yourself, in ways that you think about that person, and you think about the funny things that you did so you could just laugh at yourself, and in the different ways you love that person. I thought about too, you want to keep it positive. You don't want to reflect on negative things that may be mistakes of the other person, because you don't know what they're going through. You don't know what they could be going through some very difficult warfare, some difficult things that they have to change, and they could feel like it feels impossible, or it feels like I can't do this, or I can't, maybe at times they feel like that, or this person's too good for me, or this, it's just not the truth. It's just the devil trying to lie to them, because they are your perfect person. This is the person that God handpicked for you. And I was thinking as well, you want to, because the keeping it positive as well, the whole thing is that the Lord is doing a new thing. Like it says in scriptures, it talks about that, that there's the new ways, like the river springs out of the desert. This is something completely new that person doesn't even, they see changes in themselves, and they're like, I'm so different than what I was maybe a month ago, and the way that God's healing them or doing different things to them. for them to, as they pray and as you pray for them, as you're interceding for them, you're standing for them, and that God is working on ways to heal and you know, heal the hurts in your hearts and the past childhood traumas and things like that. And I thought about, you know, that you can remember if you remember what it was like in high school, elementary school, or junior high, that kind of like that little puppy love you felt at times, and when you'd pass notes and you would try to, you know, little secretive things you would do to your this other person that you really liked, you were crushing on, and then I was thinking about the different, yeah, you could talk about the different times you crushed on them, or maybe even your failures, you know, the times where you felt like, oh my gosh, I failed so much at this point, or this person, you know, was it just a disaster? You know, I felt like in my life, I felt like separation was a complete disaster at first, you know, then I realized that God was really in control of the whole thing. So then I felt much better after that, but it felt like a complete disaster. Like, this is not fixable. And you talk about times where you're faithful, you know, or to them, you know, just that you're faithful, you're praying, you're doing everything you can do. Times where you were just doing everything you could do for that person, even though they didn't know it at the time. And then you can talk about times you're faithless, but that God changed your heart. You know, how you just felt like in the moment at times where you were just like, you know, just couldn't bear it anymore, or, you know. And you can also talk about the near misses you had with them, you know, the interactions or funny things about the interactions. I thought as well you could talk about the first time that you saw them. Like, what was your first moment? And what did it feel like when you first saw them? When God, you know, introduced you to them, or when, whatever it is, if you met them online, or if you know, what was your first reaction when you first saw them? And then what was your reaction when God told you this was your person? Like, this was really your person that God wants you to spend your life with, and you're like, wow, what did I feel in that moment? And then a couple last ideas I thought was what were things from your childhood maybe that you wanted them to know? Like, what is it that you really thought, wow, I would really love for them to know this part of my life? Or another thing, a lesson I was thinking of was, what were the lessons you learned in standing for them? Like, what did God teach you in all of it? So I hope you enjoyed this. I hope it gave you some ideas, and I hope you have some incredible either journals or ideas that give you a letter that you can write. It could be quick, it could be long, whatever you like, and whatever's meaningful to your other person. So I hope you enjoyed it. Hope to see you back. Thanks.